What is up, guys? So this is going to be 5 steps to building an off-meta deck in a meta way, and make sure you stick around because I've got some bonus tips at the end that will really change your deck building strategy for the better. So what's the first thing that I would do? So the first thing I would suggest you guys should do is research. Go to a site like Yugioh Top Decks, look at Yugioh profiles from tournaments, look at the deck subreddit or Discord on Reddit. Make sure you use these resources and see what the best players are doing. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not the best Yu-Gi-Oh player in the world. There are so many people that know more than me, and so the best thing to do is to use that knowledge. There's so many resources on YouTube. Whenever there's an event, people will post profiles day after day after day after day. There's so many different accounts on YouTube that do deck profiles. On Reddit, there's Discords full of people who love specific decks and are just willing to help you. So use those resources, and what you want to find out is exactly the kind of decks people are building to compete at the top levels. Now, what's the second thing you need to do? Number 2 is, based on that information, you need to decide on a win condition. Now, the reason why this is important is because with a rogue deck, chances are your deck isn't just good at everything. It's not like Striker with Engage where you can just throw cards at the wall and win the game. You need to know exactly how you're going to win your game, and this is also going to tie into fact to deciding whether that deck applies to this format. If you're playing a rogue deck, look, accept the fact that your deck is not going to apply to every single format. You can't just pick Madolche in a format that's focused around going first and putting up 16 negates and never getting OTK'd, because you know what's going to happen? You're never going to win a game. So you need to make sure your deck applies to this format and it's a good deck for the format. So a really good example of a perfect rogue deck in a format would be something like Mystic Mind Burn in a format full of monster heavy decks and people that don't run back row removal. That's a really good example. So make sure you're deciding on a win condition and understanding if your deck applies to that format. So third, what do you need to do? Create a shell from the deck based on the information you've got and establish how many slots are needed for your deck's core strategy to work. You need to really understand things like your key starters. What cards do you always want to see? What cards do you not want to see? What cards are going to be nice to have in your deck in terms of certain techs and certain situations? These are all important things to do that you need to kind of have established before you even look into things like staples and stuff. So the Trap Tricks artifacts, when I was making that deck, I knew that I had 6 normal summons that were amazing and I wanted to make sure I was always getting to. I also knew from the artifacts, I had about 4 cards that if I resolved them on my opponent's turn, they would win certain matchups. So this is stuff like Artifact Scythe. I knew it won certain matchups against pretty much all of the meta. Lancia would destroy things like Dinos. I knew that resolving a Morale Touch would be really useful as just general interruption. These are the kind of things you need to know, and by doing that I established straight away that I have 25 spots in my deck that are going to be taken up by both of these decks and their core engines. Now, number 4, you need to work out the best hand traps, techs, board breakers, staples for this format. Now, again, like I say, when you're playing a rogue deck, your deck's not the best deck. Your deck's probably not that good, which means you need to rely on these busted cards to equalize against meta decks. Now, things like Forbidden Droplet, Triple Tactics Talent, Artifact Lancia, cards like these are going to be amazing and flat out win the game for you sometimes. So if you're incorporating them into your deck and making sure that they're actually relevant to the current format and the current meta decks, you are going to win a lot of matchups for free. This is particularly important because when you're playing a rogue deck, you need to take those free victories where you can get them. So if I know that having evenly matched in my deck is going to win the matchup against 95% of the meta every time I draw it, then I need to be playing 3 evenly matched in that deck profile. Now, my 5th point and the most important tech point is that you need to follow this process of testing your profile, reviewing your profile, improving your profile, and then testing again. It's an iterative process. Now, tools such as Dueling Book are useful, but what's even better is if you have a friend who you can duel with, make him play the meta decks. You need to understand those meta decks just as well as yours, so you know your power plays, so you know where to hit them, and knowing this is key to winning. There's a quote by Sun Tzu which is really applicable to this, and it goes as such: if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained you will also suffer a defeat. If you know neither the enemy or yourself, you will succumb in every battle. Now, I really like this quote because it really shows the importance of understanding both your deck and the meta deck. Chances are that meta player is not going to know your deck amazingly, and chances are you are going to know your deck really really well. So if you know both of the decks, of course you're going to win. But if you only know one of your decks, you're really leaving things up to chance, which you don't want to do when playing Rogue. And this is why you need to test so much, because you really need to be getting as much experience with your profile as possible. If someone playing meta is practicing with their deck for 1 hour, then you should have been practicing with your deck for 3 hours, because you need to put in more work, and that's why it's so important. So those are the 5 steps. So I'm going to quickly run through them. Number 1, do your research, see if they've had any tops. Number 2, based on that information, decide on win condition, decide on whether that deck is good for this format. Number 3, create a shell for the deck and establish how many slots are needed for the deck's core strategy to work. Number 4, work out the best hand traps, techs and board breakers for this format and put them in your profile with the extra slots. Number 5, test, review, improve, and test again. Now, this is really crucial that you're following these steps, because if you do this, I can guarantee you're going to be churning out some incredible profiles, and suddenly you're going to be winning your locals or winning even regionals with your DDD profile, and you'll be shocked at how effective it's been. Now, I've got a little bit of a bonus tip for you guys who stuck around to the end, and it's going to be this. Use tools such as the HYPERGEOMETRIC calculator. Now, I really like this tool, and I think that this is one of the biggest differences between testing a deck and really optimizing a deck. So if you're not familiar with it, it's going to be on the screen. The HYPERGEOMETRIC calculator allows you to essentially calculate the probability of getting a specific hand in your whole deck. Now, this tool is so insane because when you combine it with step 2, which is establishing a win condition, if you know what cards lead to that win condition, this calculator will tell you exactly how likely it is you're going to hit in every single hand, and through that you can continually optimize your deck and put yourself in a position where statistically you are guaranteed or very likely to hit that win condition, because you'll know straight away if you've only got a 20% chance of hitting your win condition, you need to change something in your profile. And that's why I think this tool is amazing, and it's definitely my bonus tip for making a non-meta deck meta. So for you guys who stuck around to the end, thank you so much for watching. I really think these strategies are going to be amazing for making your meta deck. So make sure you leave in the comments what profiles you're going to be trying to make with my strategies, and you know what, even leave those decks in the description after you've made them, and I'll be sure to feature some of them in the future. But guys, I will talk to you all later. Peace.